Alright, through this page. Now you should hopefully have already practiced and tried this page and come up with a bunch of good answers. I'm just going to walk through and basically show you the answers. I'm not going to go super in depth in my explanation. I'm going to use the rules that we've been talking about for some time. So if you ever want to know, if you're confused about a particular rule I'm using, look on this page to see the summary, okay? So let's see. I'm going to just go in order, A, B, C, D, E, F, all the way through. So 64 right here is vertical to A, so I know that A must be 64 degrees. So for a measure of angle A, down here in the bottom, I'm not going to show this the whole time, but I'll write 64 degrees for my answer there. That would be an example of how you would know what to write in measure of angle A, because it's vertical to this, so that means they both must be 64. Yeah, the microphone last time was crazy. Hopefully it makes that same sound. I'm sure you guys will enjoy that. So let's see. I'm going to move on to measure of angle B. The measure of angle B appears to be supplementary to 64, so I can do 180. We can see A and B form a linear pair, so 180 minus 64 is 116 degrees. That means B must be 116 degrees. Now I'm going to use my knowledge of vertical angles to also write 116 degrees here. You don't need to write that, since we already found out what B was. But I'm going to use this because I want to isolate this little intersection here, and then notice P1 and P2 are given as parallel, so are P2, P3, P3, and P4. Okay, so P1 and P2 are given as parallel. That means this is a parallel transversal, and thus this intersection is the exact same as this one. It's just moved around. So I'm going to take all my numbers and just copy them straight up. So this is 116 corresponding to this 116. 64 corresponds to this 64. 116 to this one, and 64 to this one. Guys, there's a bunch of ways to do it. You don't have to do it that way. Okay. You can also use alternate and interior. You guys can see those are equal. You can use alternate and exterior and see those are equal. You can even use same side exterior or something like that. However you wanted to do it is totally fine. Okay. For me, I now know what to write for those next blanks. Oops, almost messed it up. Okay, and now I'm looking for, let's see, letter E. Letter E is all the way over here. So I'm going to change my focus all the way over here for letter E. E is vertical to 108, so I know it must be 108 degrees. I see that F is supplementary. It forms a linear pair with 108, so 180 degrees minus 108 is 72, so that means angle F must be 72 degrees. Alright, the measure of angle G, I'm going up here. I see that G is corresponding with 108 degrees, so I'm going to write 108. You can use the same trick here. Now notice I can only write these as congruent because I know that lines P3 and P4 are parallel. Okay. Now down here, I see that H is alternate exterior with F, so this must be 72 degrees. They're on the outside, and across the line from each other. Okay, same thing, so that's H. And notice, as soon as you know two angles, you know all these intersections. Do you guys see that? These two angles, they're all going to be the exact same. So like down here, 72 is this last angle because it's vertical to this one. Now I can just copy paste this intersection here, here, and here. They're all the exact same. So that means J here and I here must both be 108 degrees, since they're both corresponding to these angles way down here and here. Okay. Write that in my answer blank. Alright. Likewise, K is also 108 degrees because it corresponds to I, which also corresponds to G, but I guess it's not given. We know, of course, that, for example, if P1 is parallel to P2 and P2 is parallel to P3, then so must P1 be parallel to P3, okay, by Euclid's fifth postulate. But, you know, that's also just we just kind of do that already, right? We just know. We're just smart like that. So 72 could be S since it's supplementary to these. It's also corresponding to H. So same thing there. I don't know. I'm sorry. I wasn't supposed to do S yet. But we now have it, just in case we wanted it. And K, we know, is 108. Our next letter is M. If you can look down here, you guys can see. M is all the way down here. I notice that M is supplementary. It forms a linear pair with 75, which means I can write 105 here because 105 plus 75 is 180 degrees. Okay. Measure of angle N, that's over here. I notice that N is vertical to 79, so I can write 79 degrees for N. You guys can see, really all I need to know is, every time I'm doing these angles, all I'm trying to know, I'm asking myself two questions. Is it congruent or is it supplementary? Okay? This is all I'm asking. Are they the same or do they add to 180? That's all I'm asking. And you can basically figure everything out that way. Okay. Anyways, so on to my next one, which would be the measure of angle P. Let's see, measure of angle P is right here. Now notice no measure is given for this, but we know that this little square means this is 90 degrees, and it appears that P is a linear pair with this 90 degree angle. So 180 minus 90 is of course 90, right? And we already knew that, right? Because if this is a perpendicular line, well then it has to be 90 on both sides anyways, but anyways. Either way, works either way. Alright, and then the measure of angle Q, which goes right here. Now, don't be fooled. This angle and this angle are definitely different, right? Because these lines are not parallel. They intersect right here. So, since these lines are not parallel, Q and M are not equal. Definitely not equal. So if you want to find out Q, we have to zoom out a little bit and look at other places in the paper. If we go all the way up here, I see that measure of angle Q is actually, what's it called? I'm sorry. The line here, P4, this is P4, is parallel to P3, which is parallel to P2. Anyways, all that to say that basically Q and this line, so this line and these two here, maybe I'll highlight. For Q, I'm looking at this line, and this line form a transversal. And I notice that Q and B correspond, so Q must also be 116 degrees. So that's my answer for Q. Alright, for the measure of angle R, I see that 169 is vertical to it, so I'm going to write 169 degrees for R. And measure of angle S we already did earlier, so for my last one I'm going to do the measure of angle T, which we see is right here. So it looks to me like T is a linear pair with 61, which means this one must be 180 minus 61, which is 119, I think, yes, 119 degrees. Almost did some math mistakes. Alright, so for a snapshot of my answers, it looks something like this. This is what I should get at the very end. All your answers you know are rock solid if you used a reason to get each of them. If for each of these answers you can say something like, I used linear pair, I used corresponding angles, I used alternate angles, alternate interior angles, right? Something like that. If you did that and you did it correctly, then your answer is guaranteed to be right, mathematically speaking. So practice the next page. I'll show you guys how to do that one on the next one.